Speak, the mid-cap index has reconquered that 18,500 mark, led by the BSE Realty Index. Rather, if you take a look at the real estate stocks, they've been doing well in trade today. The Realty Index too has moved closer to the high point of the day. Century Textiles is one stock that comes onto our radar. That too has some bit of real estate. A stellar rally all through this year, up at the high point of the day as we speak. And we have Petronet LNG as well as Karnataka Bank. Both those stocks should come up for you on the screen. Petronet LNG too has moved to the high point of the day. Along with that, we have Karnataka Bank, which has recovered a good 2% from the low point of the day. So a lot of these stocks buzzing around, but let's move on to a CNBC TV18 exclusive, where sources tell us that the IRDA is likely to grant in principle nod to Reliance General Insurance IPO this week. Yash is tracking that story closely. Yash?
Well, certainly a very important development as far as Reliance General Insurance is concerned. We are given to understand that the insurance regulatory body IRDA is likely to grant its in-principle nod, its in-principle approval to Reliance General's IPO plans in this week itself. Remember, Reliance General is a wholly owned subsidiary of Reliance Capital, and CNBC TV18 was the first to report on company filing its IPO papers with IRDA with an intention to dilute up to 25% and raise anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 crore through this IPO. Now, of course, going forward, once this in-principle approval from IRDA is in place, Reliance General would look to file its DRHP with market regulator SEBI in the next 2 to 3 weeks and eventually launch its IPO sometime in November this year.
All right, Yash, thanks so much for getting us all those details. There's a spate of insurance IPOs in the markets, and it's a strong pipeline for that. But remember, geopolitical tension is something that is on top of the market's mind, and every bit of information there is important. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping held their first substantive bilateral meeting after the Doklam standoff, which had put ties between the two countries under strain, remember. Now, China's foreign ministry has released a statement saying that President Xi has stressed on Prime Minister Modi that China and India are developing the opportunities for each other and not really threats. CNN News 18's Zaka Jacob really closely tracks the development and joins us with all the details. Zaka.
So today was day 2 of the BRICS summit, but it was dominated by the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's the first time that both leaders got to meet in a standalone bilateral after the Doklam standoff resolution. The Doklam resolution happened exactly a week ago on the 28th of August. It gave an opportunity to both principals to exactly take stock of what led to Doklam and also understand and acknowledge that it did show up some of the deficiencies in the relationship, particularly at the military-to-military level. So we had a briefing by the Foreign Secretary a short while back where he said that both leaders acknowledge that those deficiencies that got shown up by Doklam need to be addressed. So therefore there needs to be greater confidence-building measures, greater military-to-military contact between both the Indian and Chinese militaries so as to avoid Doklam-like situations from flaring up in the future. This meeting, of course, was the Prime Minister's last engagement here in China. He's now flown off to Naypyidaw in Myanmar for the second leg of his trip. This meeting was initially scheduled for just 30 minutes, but it went on for over an hour, and I think that is a fair indication that there wasn't an attempt by the Chinese to brush under the carpet this contentious issue of Doklam. In fact, much of the conversation was dominated by Doklam, at the end of which, like the Foreign Secretary said, they have decided to move the conversation forward, look forward, and understand the deficiencies that led up to Doklam, and also to pave the way for the future, to institute a new mechanism that will help resolve such problems from ever happening again. You have to understand something similar happened in 2013 when the Depsang confrontation happened. It led to a 21-day standoff, but eventually Depsang led to what is called the Border Defense Cooperation Agreement. So in a similar vein, I think the attempt will be to try and find a new mechanism to address Doklam and the after effects of Doklam. Although the exact details of that, the specific nature of what this mechanism will be and at what level this will be, that is something that will only unravel in the future months and weeks ahead.
All right, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Myanmar, and this will be his maiden bilateral visit to the country at the invitation of its president. Modi will also meet with Aung San Suu Kyi on Wednesday, the second day of the 3-day visit, to be followed by the signing of cooperative agreements in areas like maritime issues, health development projects, and culture. But as we speak, keep an eye out on the Nifty. 9930 thereabouts is where we are, and the last bit of that rally could be attributed to the big boy HDFC, which has moved closer to the high point of the day, and by doing that it has neutralized the losses that it saw yesterday. Absolutely flat for the week.